Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Today, we're taking a look at the DC Multiverse Target exclusive Starro Wave Crime Syndicate Superwoman. Starting off with the packaging, and Starro's mouth comes in a big window box. I mean Superwoman. But for real though, we all know why we're here. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the potential of Superwoman, but Starro though. Anyway, name and logo down here, name and logo on the side, and a nice big picture of Starro on the back. At this point, we didn't even know that Owlman was coming. Except, of course, to the fact that there can't possibly be a single wave of anything without a Batman or Batman-alike in it. That last spot does remain a mystery, though. Since McFarlane seems to be on a Green Lantern kick, my money is on Power Ring. But that's tomorrow. Today, I'm giving this package 1 whole point. Moving on to presentation, and Superwoman stands at a statuesque 7 1/4 inches. First things first, as should be obvious, this is an evil version of Wonder Woman. It is not, however, an evil version of Diana. Superwoman is in fact Donna Troy from Earth 3 and is the one who created the crime syndicate. From the top, and I love the devilish little smirk she has. Definitely don't love the side eye, but the hair's pretty cool. Some blue in there to bring out all that detail. That said, the head does seem a bit small for the body, but welcome to DC Multiverse. Overall, this is a very minimal design, mostly just a black bodysuit, but to be honest, that's pretty consistent with Donna Troy. She does have a little S medallion here for Superwoman, and a little bit of silver trim on the sides. Flipping her around, and we can see the backside of this bodysuit. Nice texture on here. The legs are very muscular and powerful. There's also a bit of shading in there, which is unexpected and also appreciated. We can see a bit more of that shading in her back. I love these bracers, and I'm really hoping that McFarlane uses this as a template for a classic Wonder Woman. They'd be able to use the same arms and the same upper legs. They would need new calves, of course. And while we're down here, these are pretty cool. The straps have been sculpted on, and for the most part, the paint is pretty crisp. It's not perfect, but definitely good enough for standing on your shelf. I guess mine is a little bit messy down here. When a figure's design is this simple, those small details do really start to matter. Things like the paint job on the laces or the texture of the dress are really nice. Other things like the proportions really do start to draw attention to themselves. Also, things like the diaper piece, while good for articulation, really breaks up the sculpt and does hurt the overall look. And that's to say nothing of the side eye. For presentation, I'm giving Superwoman half a point. Because of the short hair, I figured she'd have a bit more range than usual, but that is sadly not the case. To be honest, she can't even look down that much. Small amount of tilt, but of course all the way around. Moving on down to Donna has swivel hinge shoulders that raise way over 90 degrees, great range in the rotator cuff, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and McFarlane wrist balls at swivel and hinge. Shifting the torso, and she doesn't have a diaphragm joint, but she does have a dumbbell waist. Superwoman can arch back this far, which is great, and she can hunch forward this far, which is not great at all. As I see it, the biggest issue is the diaper piece fighting against her. Even so, she does get a bit of tilt and twist. Below the waist, and Superwoman has the typical McFarlane hips. They can kick forward 90 degrees and do a great split. Solid amount of twist at the hip, and then moving down she has double jointed knees, toe articulation, and McFarlane ankle balls that swivel, hinge, and pivot. The articulation in this figure's arms and legs is great. The head and torso, however, not so much. Since it's halfway good and halfway bad, I'm going to meet in the middle, and for posability, give Superwoman half a point. Moving on to playability, and Superwoman comes with the trading card and figure stand. Pause here if you want to learn more about her. She also comes with my ex-wife. All joking aside, and no pun intended, Starro really is the star of this wave. Last time we looked at the arms, they were kind enough to cut the grooves to match. I'm honestly really impressed with how well the seams line up. Flipping it on its side, and this does give us an idea of how big Starro is going to be. Also, if you're curious, I did track down an Ultraman. That, of course, is a head swap video for another day. Just like Owlman, Superwoman comes with her own personal Starro, and the fewer technical jokes, the better. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. First things first, and here she is with the superpowers from Kenner. Here we have JLA by Hasbro. This was a spiritual successor to Total Justice, and And speaking of Justice, here we have Justice League Unlimited, DC Universe Classics, Darwin Cook Style DC Direct, DC Icons from DC Collectibles, DC Comics Multiverse from Mattel, DC Essentials also from DC Collectibles, and whatever this line is called by Spin Master. For the only other Wonder Woman related characters in my collection, and here we have Cheetah, and here we have Wonder Girl. For a fellow member of the Crime Syndicate, and here we have Owlman. This brings us to some regular Batmans. This one's from Detective Comics 1000, Target exclusive Battle Damage version, Flashpoint, 3 Jokers, Rebirth, and Page Punchers. Of course, for an evil Batman, and here we have the Batman Who Laughs. For an evil Green Lantern, and here we have Parallax. But for a nice Green Lantern, here we have the Dawnbreaker 2-pack. For a not so nice Man of Steel, and here we have Superman the Infected. But then for that black costume Superwoman aesthetic, and here we have Henry Cavill from the Snyder Cut, and the Solar Suit costume from the Superman and Lois comic. For a Flash comparison, here we have DC Essentials and DC Multiverse. And then for an Aquaman comparison, here we have Endless Winter. For a Supergirl comparison, here we have DC Essentials. And then for some 7-inch scale Marvel comparisons, and here we have the Marvel Select Black Widow, Marvel Select Black Cat, and Marvel Select Thor. For a relative scale comparison, here's Superwoman with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here she is with Stealth Iron Man. Of course, one thing that would be really super are head swaps. The ball's a lot smaller than usual, so a lot of pegs don't match. It's also a bit more challenging to get this ball out. We need to heat the head up and get in there with some really small pliers. Also, be aware that this hole is a lot smaller than usual. Here we have Diana from Wonder Woman 1984. This one is definitely interesting. Doesn't much look like Gal Gadot, but then again, neither does this head sculpt. The other way around sits a bit too high, but maybe with some work you could do something with it. Here we have Last Night on Earth. This one unfortunately sits a bit low. If you were able to raise it up, I will say that the skin tones match pretty well. The other way around, it looks like her hair is finally starting to grow back. Here we have Dark Knight's Death Metal, also a pretty cool one. Not gonna lie, I'm kinda digging this one. Leastways the hair. Other way around, and the head sits a bit too high. If you're able to lower it, it wouldn't be half bad. I know it's one of the lesser favorites, but here we have Endless Winter. Again, as an unhelmeted option, or as a different Amazon, this could be a lot of fun. I know this figure has its haters, but I really do love the sculpt. In terms of size and skin tone, it's fine. Not entirely sure what you do with it though. Here we have the very divisive one designed by Todd McFarlane. If you wanted to give her longer hair, I could see this as a good unhelmeted version, or again, just a random Amazon. The other way around doesn't really work for me, mainly because the headdress is so fancy compared to the body. But if you see this and feel inspired, there you go. And then for just a couple of other DC Multiverse dames, here we have the Drowned. The head might be a bit small for Superwoman, but it's a lot more proportionate here. It could be argued it's a bit too large. Here we have Harley Quinn. Again, I'm not sure what you do with it, but there could be something there. Other way around, and nope. And finally, here we have Catwoman. As an unmasked comic-style Selena Kyle, this one has some potential. You still need to deal with some of the wonky proportions of the body. Okay, you know what? For just one more, I had a crazy idea and thought I'd bring out the Marvel Legend She-Hulk. These pegs don't match at all, so it would require a bit more creativity. That said, with a complete repainting, you could definitely have a lot of fun. But lest we forget that She-Hulk has 2 heads, so here's the other one. This probably has more potential for customizing with a DC Multiverse female body than any other head I've seen. The fact that after all this time, we still don't have a standard comic-style Wonder Woman is downright comical. It really is starting to feel like some kind of cruel joke. That said, I can't pretend that this isn't a fun figure or that I don't appreciate all the swapping options, and that's to say nothing about Starro. For playability, I'm giving Superwoman 1 whole point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Superwoman is a Target exclusive and retails for $24.99. I'll be honest, the main draw for me is Starro, and in that respect I'm happy. And of course, the Starro Mini adds a lot of value. If, however, you're only interested in one or the other, you can always take your chances and risk waiting for clearance. I personally just found Ultraman for only $8. That said, I'm not unhappy with what I paid, so for price, I'm giving Superwoman 1 whole point for a grand total of 4 out of 5. For the Crime Syndicate Owlman, click here, or for a look at another Wonder Woman related video, click here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.